Chafing Armor, Episode 10. Y'all ain't from around here, are ya? Welcome back to the Chafing Armor Podcast, scratching your itch for Dungeons & Dragons podcast. I'm your host and despicable Dungeon Master, Michael Corley, and with me today is James. James, tell everybody who you are playing.
I am playing Penton Chalice, a spell scale sorcerer, and having a super time.
Fantastic. And Izzy, tell everyone who you are playing.
I am playing Morezi Mugra, the half-orc barbarian.
And that is actually all we have playing tonight. This is one of those special episodes where we're going to focus on a few characters. We are going to focus on Penton and Morezi. And in fact, we open just outside the Last Dragon Inn. If you recall, the Last Dragon Inn is where our band of adventurers discovered a dark secret about the inn owner and the depths below. But this is a few days afterwards, and Osokai, the giant bear-like of a man, and Tix, the small gnome cleric, have left on a mission. They have left to bring some children to safety, and we'll get back to that later. But right now, we open with Penton. Now, Penton does something special every single day. He meditates. He meditates on something very, very special. And Penton, I'd like you to tell the listener what it is a spell scale sorcerer meditates on.
The spell scales in general meditate on one of the dragon gods and kind of tie themselves in with an aspect of one of the dragon gods on any given day, which gives them a boost to something that they can do during the day, depending on which one he meditates on.
Fantastic. Now, we assume that you are doing this every single day, but just as I don't have the characters roll for how often they use the bathroom, it's just not necessary to talk about. However, right now we are actually at dawn, and you have walked out to the dewy grass outside the Last Dragon Inn, and you have assumed a lotus position to meditate. Now, there are many dragon aspects that you meditate upon.
That is true.
So you have gone out to meditate. Now, there are many aspects of a dragon that you might meditate on, but because you've been stuck in such a, shall we say, martial stance, you have been consistently meditating on one particular dragon. And tell us who that is.
That is the king of the good dragons, Bahamut.
You don't actually communicate with Bahamut. He is the ruler of this particular pantheon, though the exact specifics of that get extremely complicated. But we shall say he's an incredibly important dragon god, and you have sat to meditate upon him. And unlike normally, you actually have a vision. And in this vision, you see a giant platinum dragon over a grassy field. And this giant platinum dragon is turned away from you. You can see its 3 sets of wings rising into the air.
Well, first I'd like to see if he's staring at something in particular or just looking off into the distance.
You see that he is looking at something in the distance. He is looking at a figure in the distance. And you can see a skeletal dragon. It is bone and sinew, and its eyes glow pale in the twilight of this vision. And it is facing off with Bahamut. And it is coming closer.
In my wisdom, I think I'm going to not get in between them because sometimes you just get squashed between two large powers. But if anything, I would like to, kind of offer my will and support to Bahamut and kind of favor him in that way.
You extend your mental energies to Bahamut, and his giant forearms clash with the skeletal dragon. But in a brief moment, you see his eyes just for a second turn and give you the slightest attention, which you feel wash over your entire body. And he tells you,
"He must be freed."
And then the vision breaks. But there's something unusual, because in the grass just beyond the forest, where you came into the clearing of the Inn of the Last Dragon, is an actual skeletal dragon. And it is coming towards you very quickly.
Oh dear.
At this point, I want to cut to Merezi. Merezi, you are out on the lawn of the Inn of the Last Dragon, and you are going through your exercises. Every day that you are able to, you go through your exercises with your halberd. And I want you to describe what some of those exercises might look like.
I'm no weapons expert, but I would assume that Merezi would be doing certain actions, such as trying to spin it around just to test her agility, trying to thrust it, see how well she can do it and how strongly, chopping the air, maybe trying to, I don't know if a halberd would be very good as a wood chopping axe, even for just practice, but I think she would attempt that as well.
So you swing it around, you twirl it in the air, you practice your balance, and then you bring it around and slash through one of the smaller trees nearby, thinking that it will probably be firewood tonight. And that's when something breaks through the trees. It is a skeletal dragon of some kind. And now I would like Penton and Merezi, I would like you to both roll a perception check.
20-sided?
That is correct.
Which makes sense for Merezi's limited knowledge of dragons. I got a 7.
Understood. And Penton?
My perception's not all that great. However, I did roll a 13.
Well, that is sufficient for what I wanted to see if you knew or not. And first of all, the thing you notice is this is not a giant dragon. This is not an ancient dragon or a huge dragon. It's not even a very big dragon, though it's still very big because, dragon. But what you actually notice is a poisoned tipped tail. You recognize that even though this is almost completely skeletal, this is actually a wyvern, one of the distant cousins of a dragon. And it is coming towards you threateningly with the tail.
Okay, so I'm getting the feeling that this may be kind of in the same motif as all the undead that have been haunting this area for a while now.
Actually, do an Arcana check for me, if you won't mind.
I will do that. Hold on. Accessing. Modified 18 for that.
Modified 18, you reach out with your arcane sense, and you are not 100%, but you are almost certain this is not the same magic, though it is absolutely dark and death-related magic, for obvious reasons. But this is not the same unsettling magic that you touch directly when fighting the gooey zombies from before.
Okay. All right. Well, my first instinct is to back away from it. Does it seem to be aggressive?
It does seem to be coming at you aggressively, but because you back up instead of attacking, it actually turns away from you. It was almost like it was coming up to check you out, and then finding you unacceptable, it turns and begins to move towards Merezi. Merezi, you see this skeletal wyvern begin to come towards you.
Well, looks like I won't need to continue my practices for today.
It comes closer and closer, and then you hear it do something that a skeletal wyvern should not be able to do. It sniffs. It sniffs you. And then one skeletal leg raises up at an arch in an unmistakable pose of an animal pointing at its prey. And then you hear a voice from the woods, a voice saying, "Hold, Mr. Clicks." And you recognize this voice. Out of the woods comes an orc, a full-blooded orc. He is wearing a robe, a simple tattered robe, and you can see the insignia on his belt of your clan. This is the necromancer Tovar. You never really liked him very much because he was super creepy, and you didn't really want much to do with a necromancer, but you knew he served his purpose in the clan. He points at you and he says, "I've been looking for you."
Morelli, unnerved, she thinks that Tovar is kind of creepy, not just generally creepy for obvious reasons, and holds her halberd in a ready stance, demanding, "What do you want?"
He comes a few steps closer and he says, The trap has been sprung, and now I need your help." And he points to your belt where there is a small toolkit that you use to build mechanical traps. Penton, you do not know this, but Morezi, when she was part of her clan, was the builder of traps. And Tovar says, "Well, are you going to offer me something to drink?"
Morezi scoffs. "Why would I do that?"
"Because I'm very thirsty and you're outside of an inn."
Morezi sighs, resignated, and indicates for Tovar to follow her. Is Penton actually near her? Can you see her?
Yes.
Yes, y'all weren't next to each other, but you were in sight of each other.
Morezi indicates for Penton to come along as well.
Very well. He doesn't wait for you. Tovar goes in the inn without waiting and goes behind the bar and begins making himself a massive drink of grog. He actually just takes the entire jug and begins to drink from it directly. Mr. Clicks, if I didn't say that name right before, that is his name. Mr. Clicks, the skeletal wyvern, turns and holds guard outside the door and looks at you both menacingly.
I take a wide berth of the skeletal wyvern.
He is not barring you for entering, but he is guarding the door, and you have to go around him to get inside.
Well, Morezi approaches Tovar. Respecting orc tradition, she waits for him to finish chugging this entire jug of mead or grog or whatever, and demands that he tell her everything.
Everything would take a long time, but I was visited in a vision by my god, Nerul, the god of death. He told me that a great power had been imprisoned, and that only the trapmaker of our clan can set them free. And only then will our clan have a chance of surviving the upcoming battles. I set my wyvern, Mr. Clicks, to find you, and he has finally done so, though it took him long enough. I need you to come with me. You are the only hope to saving our clan.
Penton mumbles to himself, he must be freed. He must be freed. I wonder if it's the same thing.
Tovar spins and looks at you, and he goes, Are you an elf?
Actually, I'm a human with some dragon blood in me.
Oh, I don't care about that. I just hate elves. All right, then. You should probably come too. I don't know.
Well, I believe I shall, because I had a vision myself, and Bahamut told me to free someone who's been trapped.
He moves a few steps closer, and he goes, You're not just copying me, are you?
I wish I were.
Very well, then pack up all the grog you can find, and let us make forth. Mr. Clicks will lead the way. Does anyone object to that?
No, I just stay far away from Mr. Clicks.
Morezi would usually object to a mission that was not given serious explanation for and all that, especially a reason why she should do this. But seeing as it's her clan, even if it's some weird guy who doesn't even worship the same god as her, she will accept for the sake of her clan.
Very good, and good role-playing on your part. Both that and when you waited before he drank, that was absolutely part of your orcish tradition. He is very pleased with you and shows you in the traditional orc manner of jazz hands. So you make your way through the woods. Mr. Clicks is leading unerringly through a path, a small deer path that is leading its way through. And you come upon something in the woods. Well, as unfortunately has been so common for you recently, you come upon a smell in the near distance, a smell of rot and decay.
Morezi instinctively, I'm so sorry, I've been having so many pauses today. This must be terrible for editing. Morezi instinctively pulls out her halberd and readies it.
Penton hides behind Morezi.
It is not hard to do since she is not quite twice your height, but it's not exactly that far from it. And as you inch your way forward, you come across in the clearing a corpse, but not the corpse of a man and not the corpse of a monster, but something in between. It is the corpse of a dire werebear. And I would like both of you to make a knowledge check for me. You can add your intelligence bonus if you like.
That would give me knowledge bonus.
I had an 8.
All right. And what did you roll, Pinson?
That was a 10.
Gotcha. So neither of you are able to glean a great deal of information from this, but both of you are fairly certain about one thing, and that is when a were creature dies, it normally reverts to its human or otherwise shape. So this is unusual that it has maintained its dire werebear shape. And by the way, it is enormous. It is anywhere from 2 to 3 times larger than a normal bear. The other thing that you don't need to roll for, Morezi, is you know about this creature intimately. It is before the gathering of the clans for the Great War. This was one of your biggest commissions as the clan's trap maker, was to make a trap to trap the dire werebear. And you never succeeded, but not because the trap didn't work, but because the werebear had left the area before you could trap it. But you had actually created a trap to capture this creature. You knew that it was horrendously dangerous. Even orc barbarians armed with silver did not return from trying to kill it. So whatever killed this thing is not something you would want to mess with.
I can't remember. Werebears are with the kind of shifters that Osokai are, correct?
He is actually slightly different. He is a shifter, so he does change and become bear-like, but he does not actually become a bear per se. He just becomes more bear-like. So this is technically a different creature than Osokai. And that is a very good point, and I'm glad you clarified that. And now I would like both of you to roll one more perception check, please.
Will do. Try hitting
15.
the table this time. And no, nothing for me.
Well, I think you were probably trying to get back from the horrible smell, so you probably didn't notice. But Morezi, you are not caught unaware. The corpse of the dire werebear begins to move. It is beginning to shift on the ground.
Morezi steadies herself at her halberd, but she super readies it now.
And I would like both of you to roll for initiative. And Morezi, you get a +3.
I got a 16 on that.
10.
10 total?
Yes.
All right. The dire werebear begins to move, but not the way that a creature rising up from the ground would move. Its body begins to undulate. And then from its torso, you see its skin begin to distend. And then suddenly, bursting from inside its belly, comes a giant carrion beetle, and it attacks you. However, Penton, you were standing back because you didn't want to get anywhere near this thing. So when it began to attack, you were ready for it. And what would you like to do?
Oh, well, my first instinct is to hit it with some acid. So let me do that. It will just fly from my hands and hit it in the carapace, if you will. And it does a D3. So let me crank one of those out. And it takes 2 points of acid damage.
You fling your hands forward and the acid splashes against its carapace, hissing and spitting madly. It does not care for that very much, I might add. And now the necromancer gestures and Mr. Clicks attacks, and he gets a 17. So that is a hit. He does, wow, he did really well. He does 8 points of damage, and he does not successfully poison this carapace to beetle. Probably couldn't penetrate through its thick outer shell. And now, Morezi, it is your turn.
Morezi's motto is hit first, think later, and instantly rams this thing with her halberd. I think a 9 would hit it.
A 9 total?
For hitting. Oh, I didn't add up, but a 14.
Okay, a 14 will hit, so roll for damage.
4.
Okay. 4 points of damage. You slice off one of its mandibles, which it does not care for very much. It makes a high shrieking noise, and it tries to attack you because you are closest. I'm not even using the same dice, and I still rolled a 1. I'm getting really sick of this, guys. I guess because you ripped off one of its mandibles, it's a little off balance, and it tries to pinch you, but it can't quite pinch because the one mandible doesn't seem to be working, and so it can't quite get at you. And now, Penton, it is your turn again.
Okay. Does it seem to be very hurt at this point?
It seems pretty messed up.
I think I'm going to give it a good old-fashioned thwack on the head.
Go for it. By the way, is that with like a staff or a knife, or what is it that you're using?
That'll be with my quarterstaff.
Roll that bad boy.
And that is a 19.
I believe that's going to hit.
Hoo-ha. I believe that is a 6. Yes. And that'll be 4 points of damage.
4 points of damage is going to do it. As it's coming forward to try and shift and attack you, you simply bring the tip of the quarterstaff down, and there is a sound as you crush its skull beneath your quarterstaff, driving it into the ground, and it moves no more.
Excellent.
Tovar comes up to the corpse, and he moves his hands slowly over it, and he points at the back leg of the dire werebear and brings to your attention that there is the markings of a trap. And he thinks out loud, It seems that you were successful after all, Morezi.
In spite of herself, Morezi grins and crosses her arms, very proud.
Y'all continue onward. Tovar is asking you about your travels, and he is asking about the Great Battle, which he was part of, because of course your clan and the other orc clans, along with the other quote-unquote evil races, were victorious. He is asking you, were you successful with your traps? Did you catch many prey in the Great Battle?
Well, I caught a bear.
Pinton, I'll let you take what you want from that.
It's true. A bear had a trap on its leg.
Yes, that is some information you may or may not want to share with Osokai in the future. So as y'all move onward, you come to a slight clearing over a low hill in the distance. And as day is beginning to give way to twilight, y'all, it was morning who first encountered Tovar. It is now just early dusk. There is a small village ahead. On the road, as you come towards, you see a simple but well-kept sign that says, "Welcome to Spade Glen." What would y'all like to do?
Morez no mind to the sign or anything, and just thinks that it must be a passive town full of boring people, and that maybe there's a passive, boring inn where the three can stay the night.
All right. Well, if you head into the town, you see a couple of people coming out. They all, as far as you can tell, everyone in the town seems to be a human, though you certainly haven't met everyone yet. And you are immediately greeted. They come up, a man comes up to you and says, "Hello, friends. Welcome to Spade Glen."
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Morezi is a little put off by their kindness, like, thanks.
My name is Simpum. Don't ask. It's a family name. But I'm actually technically the constable of this town, and I just wanted to come and welcome you. And if you don't mind, just wanted to see what your business was while you were coming into our beautiful little town of Spade Glen.
Well, I think it's a wonderful name, and we are passing through, just hoping to stop for the night, and we're on search for something for ourselves. But no need to worry about us. We're in not much trouble.
Well,
Morezi is... Oh, sorry.
Oh, go right ahead.
Morezi is increasingly put off by the incredible kindness of these strangers.
You do, and I will especially say for you, Morezi, you are not used to humans treating you like this. You look back and you see that, there's, of course, the very captivating Penton, but, with you is this over 6 foot tall half orc. And behind you is the creepy-looking Tovar, though you do notice something, is that Mr. Clicks is missing. He is not visible right now, so there is at least not a giant skeletal wyvern. You do not know what has become with him, whether he's been sent off or whether something else has happened, but he is not visible right now. And Simpam points over and he says, "Well, if that's your goal, then we have a lovely inn that y'all can stay in for the night and enjoy our local wares. And as long as you're not looking for any trouble, then we welcome you in Spade Glen."
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, that's fantastic. Y'all head on now, and if there's any things you need to pick up for supplies, I think the general store should be open for another hour or so if you need anything.
Thank you very much. We will check it out.
Is there anywhere y'all'd like to go or anything you'd like to do before heading to the inn?
Not personally, other than maybe just kind of gauge the town, see if anything has any interesting things have gone on, or whether townsfolk have been affected by the battles that have been going on over the last while. I could even actually use my gather information skills to do that.
All right, roll for that.
Let's see. I got a 6 on that. That'll be an 18 modified.
Well, y'all make your way through the town and you speak with some of the locals. None of them, again, seem particularly put off by the fact that there is a half-orc and a full-blooded orc in town. And you find that they have been relatively unscathed by the wars, that they, being a small town, were deemed unworthy of pillaging and looting. What you find out is that Spade Glen, unsurprisingly, used to be a farming community, which is where the name comes from. But not too long ago, they struck gold and a few other precious minerals, and they've becoming slightly more prosperous as the time goes on. It wasn't a mother lode by any means, but has let the town both buy its way out of semi-poverty, but also buy enough resources so that they were not dependent on other towns and quite as vulnerable to attack. And so they're kind of in this sweet spot where they're well off, but they're not so big that they're a juicy target. And as you recall, the Last Dragon Inn actually went into the mountainside. This is not the mountainside proper, but there are hills here, some of which apparently have active gold mines.
Awesome. Okay.
Morezi is eager to simply go to the inn, eat a lot of food, and then go to bed.
So as you go into the inn, it's immediately you're overwashed with a warm atmosphere. Several people come up and greet you. A young serving woman comes up to you, Morezi, and says, "Well, now, what can I get you, miss?" And she leads the question as if to ask for your name.
And whether you're actually a miss.
There may also be that. She's not quite sure.
Orcs don't have a lot of sexual dimorphism. Morezi Mugra. She simply requests for, I don't know, a lamb hunk. I'm so bad with words. She simply requests for some sort of meal that is mostly a large, well-cooked hunk of and lots of alcohol.
And Pinton?
I'm rather short on funds right now, but you don't seem to have an entertainer in. Perhaps I could tell a few stories for a small meal?
Well, now, for a small meal, I think we could arrange something. And there is a little area that could be cleared off to put on a show. And please, one, roll to tell me how this, see how this show goes, and tell me what kind of show you would put on.
Okay, let's see. I got a perform of 6. Oh, that's a 20. I rolled a 20 on that. So this is going to be the best 20? Show. Yes. Wasting a natural 20 on a side show. That's okay. Basically, I was thinking of telling the story, and I'll use some prestidigitation to add to the story, add some lights or movement or sounds or what have you, just little bits and pieces here or there, to tell the story of the magnificent princess and some of her exploits and adventures in the past.
Excellent. And the crowd is captivated, and at times are brought to tears and are brought to laughter. And when you finally get to the final moment, there is a indescribable moment that a true performer knows, where they pause for a moment and the crowd bursts into applause. And not only do you get your meal for free, which is much larger than a small meal after that performance, but several people actually throw coins to you equaling 1 gold coin total.
Okay. I will hold on to that for now until I can find somebody that's worthy enough to need that.
Excellent. So the rest of the night goes extremely well. Tovar mostly keeps to himself, but he is greatly enjoying the mead of the tavern. And by the end of the night, he is pretty drunk. And you are all given separate rooms. And Pinson, your room is free.
Excellent. Thank you.
So you all go to bed and you all sleep. And in the middle of the night, nothing happens. And you wake up in the morning and you're all quite refreshed, and none of you are injured in the terrible beetle battle, but everything else seems to be fine. And
I don't trust this town.
And you wake up and leave your room. What would y'all like to do?
Well, first and foremost, I find what I deem to be the least well-off person I can see in the street in town, and give them the money that I was given last night.
Gotcha. You walk outside and to look for a beggar or simply a street urchin down on his luck or the perfect person to unload this change equaling a gold to, because it is not your way to hold on to it. And you don't see anyone. And you look around and you don't see anyone. You can't see anyone in the town, and the silence of the town is deafening.
Whoa. Okay. Does it seem like the town has been recently populated? Does it like suddenly look run down and empty?
That is a very perceptive question to ask, but no, it looks exactly as it did the night before. This is not a scenario where they were from 1,000 years ago or something like that. And such things, as Penton knows, do happen from time to time in this kind of world. But no, this town looks exactly the same, with one exception. There are no people in it.
Weird. Maybe they only exist at night? This is strange.
Tovar is just blearily coming out. He looks very, very hungover and seems very ill-tempered. And he is walking around the side of the building to relieve himself. And he has not noticed you or anything else, and does not seem disposed to talk to anyone until he's taking care of his business. Marezi, are you doing anything?
She's probably holed up in her room. I assume that all the stuff that she's been through with this great war and the Zorn and the giant skeletal dragon taking us places. Well, not giant. Marezi, I think that she really likes trap making, and she's just probably done... I don't know if she had something with her or if she's disassembled a chair, but she's trying to make a trap just to kill time.
Gotcha. So you are creating a trap in your room using the items around you. You've disassembled part of the chair that was in your room and using a few strips of leather that both you had and also that you scavenged from nearby. You've made a small but clever trap that's designed to trip someone when they come into the room, and then you've also arranged so that they would hit a most unpleasantly shaped object when they hit the ground. It's very, very crude, but given the time you had, it also would be very effective. However, go ahead.
Was there anyone in the inn when I came down from my room?
No. And you literally didn't notice because you didn't think anything of it. It's early in the morning, and it wouldn't be weird for the common room of an inn to be empty this time in the morning. And so it wasn't until you walked outside that you noticed that there was apparently no one in the town.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. I assume there was a fire. Is there still warm coals in the fireplace?
Absolutely. There are coals that are now just barely hanging on embers in the fireplace. There is every evidence of people having been here before and that they weren't, say, ghosts or some kind of projection. There is every sign that you look around that you see that people did, in fact, seem to be here.
Okay. Well, maybe they had somewhere to be. That's strange. Very strange.
Now I would like you to roll a perception check.
Oakley dokily.
Should I?
Well, you haven't left your room yet, as far as you told me.
Right. That would be a 14 for me.
Okay. Off in the distance, you see a figure near the foothills. You can't make out what it is. The sun hasn't quite risen yet, though it's now light outside, but the sun isn't quite full the way up. But you see a small figure in the distance, and it darts off towards the hills.
Was it humanoid or?
You're pretty sure it was humanoid.
Okay. I run in and go up to Marezi's room and knock.
Don't come in. There's a trap on the ground.
It is extremely good that you knocked.
Yes. Marezi, there's something strange going on out here.
Okay, I'll come out. Marezi has to very much rearrange the trap, although she doesn't put the unpleasant thing back, but she does at least keep the tripping part of the trap there for future use, but she exits the room and follows Penton.
Very good. You go outside to see Tovar coming back from around the building, and he blearily says, "Where is everybody?"
That's a very good question. I was just wondering that myself. It seems like everyone is vanished or left. When I was out here, I saw off in the distance something vaguely humanish was heading off into the foothills, but that's the only evidence of anything alive and sentient that I've seen here.
Maybe they're all in the mines. I don't.
That makes sense. The mines are the most valuable thing here. But if they are all gone, that means that gold would be left for the taking.
It's not such a great idea.
Agree to disagree.
I think it's a fantastic idea, and I'm glad Morezi has the sense to agree with me. But regardless, let us go and see what is there.
Well, Penton starts heading off toward the foothills, very curious.
Gotcha. As you are walking towards the foothills, the sun begins to rise overhead. I'm going to assume, by the way, that you have already meditated this morning. You have had no further visions from Bahamut, but you do feel it coursing through you. Just wanted to establish that. And you make your way to the foothills. It is not hard to pick up the path towards the gold mine, since, of course, it is very well traveled. And you can see a small little hutch where doubtless a guard would normally be, both to guard the mine and to guard from, warn if anyone was trying to make their way in. But the hutch is very empty at this time.
They're not.
There's only one way to find out.
Morezi just walks right in, not even asking if anyone else wants to follow.
You walk into the mine, and you immediately feel the temperature drop as you enter into the cave-like area of the mine. It goes down deep. There are no torches currently lit. But Morezi, I believe that you have low vision, and I believe Penton does as well. Could you confirm that for me?
That is correct, sir.
So it is up to y'all. You certainly can light a torch if you wish, but you do not have to.
I could just light myself up.
That is also true.
Stupid, beautiful men, and they're glowing.
Sorry.
Is he beautiful? I can't tell, says Tovar. And he makes his way further into the mine, tromping ahead of y'all. He seems oblivious of any dangers that there might be.
Okay, so is there anything lit here? Does it seem like it's any kind of recent activity?
You can't see any particular activity that looks like today, but this is a very well-used mine. So there is absolutely all kinds of signs of activity, because this mine was being used 24/7 for at least the last few years. So it's impossible to tell, especially in low lighting, if someone was here, like, say, an hour ago.
Right. Okay. I don't know how deep into the mine we want to go. I mean, who knows how far it goes at this point. But I'd like to see if there's something we can find here or some kind of evidence of what's going on.
Well, you make your way further downwards. You can, by the way, make out faint glimmers as the light, the now quickly fading light from outside makes its way in, that there is clearly real veins of gold in these hills. So, just in case you were worried if it was fake or not, there clearly is gold in this. How much there is, there's no way for either of y'all to tell. And you are greeted by a small child who is standing in the middle of the path.
Well, hello there.
He turns slightly towards you, but he doesn't quite seem to see you, but it's almost like he heard your voice.
Are you here all alone?
Oh, no, sir. No, I'm not alone.
Morezi is very unsettled by his comment, bringing back the unsettling feeling that she first had in this town, and pulls her halberd. I believe that she probably has a way to carry it on her back, and she pulls it out.
All right. The child turns toward you ever so slightly, but it's almost like he's looking like at your chest. Like he's not looking at you. It's like he's looking at your general direction.
Can you see us, little one?
Oh, well, that's kind of hard to say. I don't rightly think that I have eyes no more.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I'm going to turn on my good light so I have a better view of this child.
Okay. Describe what your good light is.
Well, the good light is just sort of just a radiance that, comes around, from me, which, makes it glaringly obvious that I'm of good nature.
Excellent. You turn on that light and it actually diffuses into the cave before you, there is a fraction of a second when the light touches the child, and you actually see not through the child, but into the child, as if you are getting some grotesque cross-section of human anatomy. He turns towards you, and one eye is skull-like, the other eye still completely human, and then he fades away.
Whoa. I'm starting to get the impression that maybe this town is cursed.
You just got that? You just got that.
Tovar lets out a deep chuckle at what you say, Merezi. Yes, very true. He is stupid.
Well, as much as I'd love to stay until dusk to see if they suddenly reappear, I don't know if we have that kind of time.
As we don't.
Regardless, I suspect that what we're looking for is in here. Your god has told you something is trapped. My god has told us something is trapped. Where else would it be hidden in this town?
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe they came across something they shouldn't have when they were digging.
I've heard about something being unearthed when one digs too deep and too greedily, but that is copyright protected. So, what would y'all like to do?
Well, I guess we should explore a little deeper and see if we can't come across, the source of this issue and our own.
Very good. You make your way down and down through the mines. It gets deeper and deeper. It's now full dark, by the way, but I will allow that both of you can see with your enhanced vision. And of course, you are giving off a faint glow right now. And as you make your way down, you can hear a sound like breathing, a deep rumbling breathing.
You're hearing that? That's not just me.
No, I'm hearing that. I'm going to turn my light off for now, just in case. I don't want to detract too much attention to myself.
Very good. You continue to make your way down, now in complete darkness, and the breathing begins to fill the chamber as you go down. And your foot stumps across something you didn't quite see as you were walking.
I look down.
Down on the ground, you see the body of the child you saw earlier. He is clearly dead, primarily because a large portion of his skull is missing.
Was that kid a ghost?
Could be. It could be. Is it bitten or just magically disappeared or something?
Something in between. There is definitely something devoury about what has happened to this kid's skull. It doesn't simply look like it's been vanished. It looks like something happened to it, but it looks slightly more precise than, say, like an animal mole.
Gotcha. All right. As much as I'd hate to say it, I think we should continue toward the breathing.
Well, there's clearly nothing dangerous down there, so why not?
Clearly.
As you make your way down, you encounter 3 more bodies, 2 of which you definitively recognize as townfolk that you had seen earlier. And all of them are dead in the same fashion, that a large portion of their skull is missing.
Every time we go to an inn, every time it's someone dead.
That does seem to be the trend.
I'm starting to think that I'm not going to go drinking with you two ever again. As you make your way further and further down, you come at last to an opening. This is a place multi-leveled in the mine, where the mine branches off in several directions. Normally, a mine like this would stay consistently fairly small, no more than 6 feet up in the air. You've been crouching slightly to get through, Merezi, but not with too much difficulty. But this area opens up. What you suspect is that this was the mine, and then it opened up into a natural cavern, which has been built upon in the mine. Inside, you see several things. You see a pile of bodies. And it appears to be the town. It appears to be the town. All of them dead in the same fashion. Beyond the pile, you see a source of light. You see a dragon. Now, neither of you have actually seen a dragon up close before. Not even you, Penton, in your many travels. Because while dragons are not unknown in this land, they are not exactly common either. and not exactly safe to approach at many times. You recognize from the light of its own breath as it breathes heavily that this is a brass dragon. It looks terrible. It looks sickly. It might even be dying. One more thing that you see is its rear right hind leg is trapped. And Morezi, you recognize the trap. It is made of silver, the better to capture a dire werebear. However, you notice that it has had things added to it, inscriptions, Kabbalistic symbols that no doubt allow it to hold a full-grown brass dragon captive. And it is chained to the wall, and the dragon sits mournful.
Does it seem an old dragon, a young dragon?
It seems a full-grown dragon, though not an ancient dragon.
Okay. Well, I'm wary to approach the dragon at this point, A, because dragon, and two, if he's been held for a while, he might be, crazy or starved crazy or just plain mad at this point. Who knows how long he's been here?
Morezi Penton, who she assumed would know this kind of thing. You're some kind of dragon thing, right? Do you know, would this thing be able to understand us to it?
Oh, I'm sure it would. Assuming it's still right in the mind to be able to communicate.
As you watch, you see a figure come out of the darkness. The figure is wearing a black cloak that seems standard issue of nefarious characters. It comes toward the dragon and holds out a staff that is entwined with various symbols, and it thwacks the dragon on the side. You see a spark, and the dragon winces in pain. It raises its head and looks towards a pile in the corner. This is not a pile of bodies, as you saw before, but a pile of gold. And it opens its mouth and breathes, and it lets out a steady stream of fire, and the gold slowly melts. And Penton, I would like you to make an Arcana check.
Okay. Let's see. Arcana be a 15.
That is sufficient. You can tell that this gold being touched by dragon fire has infused it with magic. You didn't roll high enough to know what kind of magic, but you have no doubt that it would be powerful if this gold were crafted into objects of power.
Okay, so at least it's being turned into the stuff of magical materials.
Yes, you suspect that this would be the raw materials used in the creation of magical artifacts, something which you do not have much experience with. That's really more of a wizard thing than a sorcerer thing, but it's not something that's unknown to you either.
All right, I'd like to get not a closer look, but a more thorough look at the person in the cloak and with the staff.
You can't make out much, but you think that it is human.
Okay. Well, I think the best thing at this point would be to wait for this person to go away, so see if we can do something for this poor dragon.
Very good. Since you wait, the person in the cloak gestures with one hand, and one of the bodies near you raises up. And I don't even need you to roll since it's pretty obvious, but you can also feel that this is directly necromantic magic. And it has animated this corpse. And the corpse shuffles forward and begins to load the still burning gold, which of course is eating away at its flesh, unheeding to it and loading it onto a cart. Slowly the body is consumed more and more until it finally collapses into a smoking heap. And then the figure gestures once again, and another figure rises from the ground and begins to do the task. You suspect that if you were to wait out, it would take at least an hour for this task to be completed.
Morezi in no way, shape, or form could handle this. She's already certain motions that would remind one of a child in line at the post office.
So are you going to act?
She doesn't really usually knows what to do in a situation like this, but honestly doesn't. She does grapple her halberd and inches forward, but she's not really sure what she could hit with a giant axe to make things better in this situation.
Well, you could always try for the back of his skull. You got lucky on that one. There is a corpse that is being animated, and it is actually right underneath you. But as the roll was not good, you are able to step out of the way just in time. Otherwise, it might have alerted this necromancer, for lack of a better term, to your presence. But there is a chance, the longer you remain here, that he will notice you are in the shadows.
Oh, are we behind him?
He's not looking at you right now. He's focused on this task. He does not appear to be aware of your presence.
Morezi is very interested in hitting him in the back of the skull then.
Very well. So I would like you to roll a stealth roll, which if you have anything to augment that is great. Otherwise, I would like you to add your dexterity modifier.
Okay, would that be a 20-sided dice?
That is correct.
16.
That will be sufficient. You make your way forward. You step over two corpses. You nearly step on a belt buckle that was laying on the ground, and it almost chinks, but you're able to just kind of touch it with your toe to keep it from sliding forward, and then you keep going forward. You will get a free attack on this creature if you so choose.
The necromancer?
That is correct.
I would love to do that. I roll for a hit then?
Go for it.
21, because I have a nice hit modifier.
You absolutely hit and roll for damage. Okay. So you roll a 21 and you roll a 5 for damage total. So you come up behind this necromancer and bring your halberd down. He senses something at the last minute, and that's the only reason you don't split his head in half. But as it is, it bites into the back of his shoulder, and he cries out, and he spins around, and his cloak falls back, and you recognize a complete stranger. You have no idea who this guy is. You've never met him before in your life, because, it's not always someone you've met before. And he cries out and says, "Intruders!" And I need all of you to roll for initiative.
Okay.
Heck yeah, 20. I don't know if that actually, now that I think about it, that doesn't really do anything for initiative, but I'm still happy about that 20.
I ended up with a 10.
Gotcha. Well, in my book, when you roll a natural 20 on initiative, that just means you always go first unless someone else rolls a natural 20, even if they have a higher modifier. That's kind of my house rule. So, Morezi, you get to swing again.
Fantastic. 12.
12 total?
Yes.
That will not do it. He is now alerted to your presence, and he brings his staff out in front, and it bites into his staff instead of him. And now it is Tovar's turn. Tovar reaches into his cloak and pulls out a small toy-looking skeletal wyvern and throws it forward. And as he does, it grows into its full-sized. You've never actually seen this magic before, Penton. It's kind of cool. And
yes, it is.
Mr. Clicks attacks. And Mr. Clicks, I didn't add his bonus. He gets a 14 total, so that actually does hit. And he does 4 points of damage. So now he's at 9 and bites into this necromancer. And that brings it to the necromancer's turn, who gestures. And a 4-sided dice here. Ooh, not good for him. One creature rises up from the ground to defend him. And that animated corpse attack Morezi. And it rolls an 11, which I believe is not going to beat your armor, does it? I'll assume I'll take that as
sorry, I forgot to. No, it does not.
So that brings it to Penton.
Okay. As he's been tormenting a dragon that seems only appropriate to crack out the magic missile infused with the Wrath of Bahamut and see how that goes. Here we go. All right. So 5 points for the magic missile itself. And then let's see what the bonus does. Another 9 on top of that. So 14 points.
14 points. And I'm actually going to add 2 more to that. It's almost as if Bahamut is paying special attention to what you are doing. And so you let forth your magic missiles and they bite into his flesh and he screams in agony. This is not someone who is used to engaging in physical combat or getting hurt. He does not seem to care for it particularly. And that brings it back to Morezi.
Definitely. Okay, so that undead guy is still in the picture, right?
That is correct. There is an undead person missing part of their skull attacking you along with the necromancer.
He's the nearest hittable thing, so I roll a 24 with modifier for hitting.
That will definitely hit.
And a 12 for damage. My rolls are good. I don't trust this luck.
And that is the skull missing zombie guy?
Yeah.
You bring it down and you just shatter the rest of his skull. It splits open. It stumbles forward a few more steps and then collapses to the ground, unmoved. And that will bring it to Tovar. And Tovar is casting a spell. And he is successful. You see a tendril of energy come out and siphon off of the necromancer. And the necromancer screams. And you see his body literally beginning to wither before your eyes. And he takes 6 points of necrotic damage. And that will bring it to the bad guy. And the bad guy is returning in kind and attacking Tovar. And you see them both. This is like a force lightning moment where they're both attacking each other with the same spell. And you see Tovar scream as his body begins to wither as well. And that brings it to your turn, Penton.
All right. I am locked and loaded for another wrathful attack via my magic missile. All right, that is 3 points from the magic missile, and the bonus, another 7, so 10 points.
An additional 10 points of damage. You, as before, you had heard the faint cry of a dragon as you attacked, and you can actually see the after images of the image of a dragon as you shoot your magic missile at him. It fills his body with energy and he screams, collapsing to the ground on top of the necrotic damage that he is taking from Tovar. And he looks at you with fury and anger and he says, "You're lucky that you faced only me. If my master were here, you would be no more." And he takes his staff and he slams it into the ground, and you see it sink into a hole in the ground. He drives his staff into the ground, and you see a small opening in the ground, and you hear a click, and he falls over dead. And you hear a deep rumble in the cavern, and you look up to see a crack appearing in the top of the cavern. And the cavern is beginning to collapse.
Oh boy!
And now we're going to do something a little different. I'm totally stealing this from another show that I had heard that I really enjoyed, and I've been looking for an opportunity to do it. We are going to do a skill challenge. Now, here's how it works: you have to get 5 successful skill challenges. However, if you fail twice, you fail. I'm going to also award both of you an inspiration, which means that at your discretion, you have to tell me beforehand, you can roll twice on any of these rolls. Now, this is not combat. What you are doing is you have to tell me what you are going to do to succeed. These are your goals: to free the dragon and to get out without dying. You can use any of your skills to do this. But you have to tell me what skill you're using. You get to use the modifier to do it. And you have to tell me what you are doing. You also get a minus if you try to do the same skill twice. So if you use Arcana twice in a row, I will give you disadvantage the second time. And I realize that throwing a whole lot at y'all, but we'll take it as we go. The ceiling is beginning to crack. Time is beginning to run out. You have seconds before this room begins to fully come apart. And I'd like y'all to roll for initiative.
Oh, I got a 2.
Okay, and Penton?
I got a 21.
Okay, well, I think you go first.
Show off.
Okay. I speak to Morezi first as I start heading toward the dragon. I think we're going to need to work together to get this trap open, or this chain open on him.
All right. And what action would you like to do that you think might get you towards getting all of you out of here?
Well, since the way the dragon is attached seems to be magically enhanced, I'm going to use spellcraft and see if I can't figure out how it's put together and see if there's a way to dismantle the magic part of it.
Excellent. I want you to make a spellcraft roll or a relevant roll to that. And let me know what your total is.
Roll. That'll be an 18.
That absolutely succeeds. You can tell what enchantments have been put on this. They are draconian specific, and they rob this dragon of vitality. And you are absolutely right that they first need to be disbanded. You think that you can do it if you are able to cast a spell on it to disable it.
Okay. Any indication of what that spell would be?
I will allow you to pick the spell if you can tell me why that would be the right spell.
Okay. Let's see. Necromancers are creatures of darkness, so if I cast light on it, it might dismantle the magic in it.
All right, give that a try.
All right. Well, I cast light upon it. there's really no roll or anything like that, so
Understood.
It just happens.
What I would like you to do then is roll an Arcana check.
Okay, let me Arcana. There it is. That would give me a 13 with my modifier.
That will barely succeed. You see the various symbols put on the trap begin to shift and fade. They don't go away completely, but you sense that they have been disrupted sufficiently so that this dragon may be able to get free. But they are still in place until the trap is actually removed. Morezi, it is your turn. By the way, that I went ahead and let you take 2 turns because nothing could happen until that spell was cast. So,
Gotcha.
Morezi, it is your turn. Y'all now have a total of 2 successes. What are you going to do, Morezi?
Morezi has skills in trap making, and that probably means that she also had skills in trap dismantling, especially because I'm pretty sure she made this. She looks at it at the arcane inscriptions on it that have made it dragon worthy, and thinks to herself out loud, so much as you dismantle it.
Okay, I want you to roll for that, and I want you to add any bonuses you have from your profession.
19.
Y'all are doing really well tonight. You go in, you pull out the small kit that was at your side that we mentioned earlier. You reach in delicately and you see the dragon shudder as you touch the trap. It clearly causes it a great deal of pain. And you turn the trap and you hear that satisfying click as it springs open. This trap, by the way, is not a bear trap. This is actually a giant silver spike that thrusts forward. It was meant to be put low in the ground and to thrust forward to hobble the dire werebear. And it has been thrust through this dragon, but it is now sprung loose, and you were able to pull it free from the dragon, who screams in pain when you do so. And we're going to go back to Penton. A giant chunk of the ceiling is falling down. The place is coming apart. What action, and by the way, this doesn't have to be a combat action. In fact, often quite the opposite. You just need to tell me what action you are taking that is getting y'all towards getting out of here.
Okay, I'm going to, let's see if I can, I want to give diplomacy a shot with the dragon, because I do speak Draconic, and get him to understand the dire nature of the situation, basically by saying, listen, we don't have much time. We have to get out of here now or we'll all be crushed. And let's see. Oh, that's a 20. That's a 20, ladies and gentlemen.
You look forward to him and you open your arms wide and you let your draconic side come forward and you speak in perfect diction in Draconic and you appeal to him. He's been racked with pain, both long term, but then also the sudden pain of having the trap removed. But you're able to stop him because his thrashing could have even brought down the cave sooner. And he stops, and one giant eye moves towards you, and he says, "Very well, little brother. Let us get out of here. But now, Morezi, it is your turn. Another giant piece of masonry is coming down from the ceiling. Chunk of rock is coming down from the ceiling. It is going to crush Penton flat. What are you going to do?
I mean, is that like something? Do you mean that it's right about to go over him and that I could push him out of the way?
Yes.
What I would for that?
Well, I will. You can either just make a straight roll and add either your dexterity or your strength, or if you can convince me why one of your skills is relevant, I will let you add that.
I'll go with my strength. Oh no, my dexterity sounds more relevant, even though it has a lower bonus.
Okay, and both of you have one opportunity to use an inspiration, which will let you roll twice for a single roll, just so you know.
I believe that a 13.
Well, you don't actually know what will do it, but in this case, you are successful, and you are able to push him out of the way just as a giant chunk of rock comes down with a crunk and actually squashes several of the bodies that were laying nearby. Yeah, it's not pretty, and y'all are splattered with little bits of gore. But you have now, let me see, that is for Penton. You need to make one more successful action in order to get out of here. So tell me, what action are you going to take next that is going to get out of here? If you use diplomacy again, you will get disadvantage.
Right. Now, I'm wondering, the way we came down here, is that going to be enough space for the dragon to get out? I'm trying to wrap my head around how he got down here in the first place.
It will be a very tight squeeze, but he, partially because he is an adult but not a ancient dragon, and partly because he's so emaciated, you think that he will be able to fit.
Okay. Trying to think of what an appropriate skill would be at this point.
Handle animal?
Well, dragons aren't animals; they're sentient. So
That's true.
Let's see. Ride. I'm not gonna ride.
I think ride the dragon. I've got plus bonus on ride. I think we should ride it.
Well, I mean, the dragon's gonna move faster than we are. You know what? Let's try it. I'm gonna try hopping on the dragon's back.
All right. You hop on his back. Are you going to say anything?
To the exit.
Okay, you scramble on, and Morezi, are you doing the same?
Yes, but one question. Would my ability still get the bonus if it's not checked on the character sheet?
I'm not quite sure what you mean.
In other words, it's not one of your given skills, as it were?
Yeah, because I've got a bonus for it, but I don't know if ride would actually... So I do have actually a 4 bonus in climb, if that would the same effect.
Gotcha. Well, in this particular case, since we're doing... Normally, I would make you roll that, but since we're doing a skill challenge, this success depends on Penton's roll.
Okay. And I rolled a 13 plus 2 for my ride skill, so that's a total of 15.
That will do it. You get on and go to the exit. The brass dragon does not have to be told twice. He begins to make his way towards the exit, crawling with great abandon. Both of you have to hug to the dragon as tightly as you can, but you actually feel both of you take minor damage as your backs are scraping against the ceiling. And you are very glad, Morezi, that you have your armor on because it's giving you some protection. And once again, Penton, you are going to need to repair this robe when you get to the outside. But because this is the 5th success, you make it out just as the rest of the cavern collapses and a chute of dust and smoke comes out behind you. But the 3 of you are free.
Yay!
Fantastic.
And the dragon turns to you, and it does something that you have certainly heard of, but never actually seen or imagined would ever happen to you, both of you. The dragon bows to both of you.
Morezi is not an intelligent person, but she knows enough to know that this is an amazing honor and probably tries to attempt a bow back.
That is wise.
Yeah, I do the same, and I speak in Draconic. May I have the honor of knowing your name, good dragon?
You may. I am known as Brahm, and I am grateful for freeing. I was given a vision by my lord that aid would come in unlooked-for places. Certainly, I did not think to see either. He turns to you, Merezi, and, by the way, Tovar escaped with y'all, though he's a little more banged up than y'all. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, he didn't die horribly in the cavern, though that would be kind of funny if I was like, I forgot about him, so he's dead. But Tovar escaped with y'all as well, just barely. He was like hanging onto the tail, and he's all banged up because he was riding in the back. Though Mr. Clicks did not make it. Mr. Clicks is no more. And
that's the worst part of this entire thing.
Yes, and Tovar is very bummed about that. But he says that he vows that he will make another wyvern companion because they are his preferred creature to animate. But Brahm turns to you, Merezi, and he says, "Little warrior, you will have
barbarian."
He kind of chuckles. And you realize that normally interrupting a brass dragon like that would result in instant death. But he is somewhat indulgent towards you at the moment. And he says, "Someday you will have the chance to ask a boon. And if it is within my power, I will grant it." And he turns to Tovar and he raises a claw and brings it down. And then you see Mr. Clicks appear before him. And you just don't expect to see this, but Tovar makes like a just almost childlike grin and goes, "Yee!" And you see, and if anything, you see that Mr. Clicks has been infused with even more power than he had before from this dragon. And then he finally turns to you, Penton, and he says, "Little brother, our Lord has brought you to me in my hour of need, and I do not forget." And he raises a claw towards you. This would normally be the most terrifying thing that someone would see. But as you are more in tune with the dragon kind, you realize that this is not an attack. And this claw comes towards you, and just the tiniest tip of the claw pricks your forehead. And you will now have a permanent scar on your forehead for the rest of your life. It is very small. It's not something that is going to mar your beauty, but it will be there forever. But
it's
now,
not lightning shaped, is it?
No, it is not. You do not have to wear spectacles. But from this day forward, any roll that uses your meditations of dragons will gain a +1 to succeed, and when relevant, a +1 to damage for the rest of eternity. And you feel this power coursing through you. And he says, "Well done, little brother. I suspect we shall meet again." And though it seems to pain him, he is very, very weak. He takes flight, and he is gone into the darkness. And Tovar says, "Well, the beer in the tavern isn't going to drink itself." And that ends episode 10. Well done, both of you.
Yay!
Congrats, jazz
Y'all did an excellent job, and I considered breaking this into 2, but I thought it would just be more fun to blaze on through. Y'all both did a fantastic job, and we'll pick up with what happened with Tix and Osokai in a future episode. You both have a wonderful night. Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
And everyone listening, you all have a wonderful evening. And if you want to do fan art, we're already starting to get some fan art in. If you want to do fan art for the podcast, you can send it to me directly at mrcorley@gmail.com, and they may be featured on a future podcast. You have a wonderful day, and we will be rolling with you soon.